Hi, my name is Zack Arnold. I'm creator of the Fitness and Post podcast, as well as the brand new Optimize Yourself program, and you are listening to the Go Creative Show.
Hey everyone, my name is Ben Consoli. I am a director and owner of BC Media Productions, and this is the Go Creative Show, the show dedicated to creative professionals in the video production, filmmaking, television, and music industries. Zack Arnold is a professional film editor and creator of Fitness and Post, and he's here today to share his new fitness and wellness program, Optimize Yourself. The Go Creative Show is supported by our friends at Kessler, making innovative tools for filmmakers. Visit them at KesslerCrane.com. Rule Boston Camera, buy, rent, create at Rule.com. NewsShooter.com, essential news for real-world shooters. Shutterstock.com. Hedge for Mac, the fastest way to back up media. And PremiumBeat.com. Premium, royalty-free music and sound. Well, it's a brand new year, 2017, and with that comes New Year's resolutions. And I know some of you guys are out there, and your New Year's resolution is to maybe lose weight, get more fit, be healthier, and that's what today's show is all about. Zack Arnold has created the fitnessandpost.com website and blog and podcast. And he was on a previous show talking about that. But he has a brand new program called Optimize Yourself. And if you go to optimizeyourself.me/go creative, you're going to get a discount on the program. But you'll also get the opportunity to sign up for his 5-day challenge. This is a free challenge, and it starts on January 9th. And it's 5 times your energy, creativity, and productivity. So this is exactly what it's all about. He understands the production industry because he's an editor, a professionally working editor out there. So he understands we've got crazy hours, lots of stress, and specifically editors, you're sitting down most of the day. These are unhealthy habits, and he wants to break us of these habits. And so we talk about that. We talk about his struggle with depression, all sorts of stuff coming up in just a few minutes. But before we get there, I want to mention a couple things. Rule Boston Camera, one of our fantastic sponsors, that's the place to go to buy and rent all of your production equipment. We all know that. But you may not know that they also have these things called learning labs and pub nights. And these are free industry events that happen at their location in Boston. And they cover all sorts of things, from new equipment, in audio, lighting, all of this stuff, hands-on demos. They also have a lot of great just seminars where people can learn theory and techniques. And it's all free, which is insane. And it happens, they have events every month. And if you go to Rule.com and you click on the Learn tab, you'll see all the upcoming events. And you'll also get a link to their Vimeo page where they post all the events. So if you can't make it, you don't have to worry about it. You can still go to their Vimeo page and have access to the entire event for free. So that is why we love those guys. And that's why we are so excited that they are continuing to sponsor the show. Rule.com, RULE.com. And lastly, I want to talk about Hedge for Mac. I love these guys too. Hedge for Mac, what is it, you ask? Simple. It's the fastest application for importing and backing up media in OS X. There you go. It has a simple interface, but it's very powerful under the hood, and it's built for video, photo, and audio in mind. So you can import multiple sources to multiple destinations at the same time, and it's optimized for files 100 megabytes or larger, and that's really what we're dealing with, let's be honest. But the best part is it's faster than the Finder, and every file is cross-verified with the original. So you have the speed, and you have the accuracy, and you know that when you give your media cards back to your director of photographies and camera operators, and they clear those cards, you have peace of mind because you used Hedge for Mac. Now, I use it on every shoot. I love it because oftentimes I'm my own DIT. So I want to make sure that things are fast and accurate, and that's what I get with Hedge for Mac. There's a free version at hedgeformac.com, but I cannot encourage you guys enough. Get the paid version. It's only $100, and you get a 20% discount if you go to hedgeformac.com /go creative show. You get 20% off, which is huge. So you have to check it out. It is worth every penny. hedgeformac.com /go creative show. All right, it's time for our spotlight. Zack Arnold is a successful film editor working on massive TV shows, including Empire, Burn Notice, and Glee. But after a struggle with depression, he dedicated his life to learning how to optimize his health and become even more productive in his work. With his website, Fitness and Post, Zack decided to share his knowledge with the world through a blog and a podcast and began helping fellow editors live healthier. He's back on the show today to discuss his new fitness and wellness program, Optimize Yourself, designed to help those working in sedentary environments learn how to sit less, focus more, and design a dynamic work environment. So I'm here with Zack Arnold, film editor and creator of the Fitness and Post podcast, as well as the brand new Optimize Yourself program. Zack, thank you so much for coming back on the Go Creative Show.
Heck yeah, man. I had a lot of fun the first time we did the show, and I've been itching to get back on, so I'm glad to be here.
Well, the timing is good because this is the first episode of the new year, and with New Year's comes resolutions, and oftentimes people want to lose weight and get healthier as their New Year's resolution, and they just don't stick with it. That's the worst part about it. But you've kind of dedicated yourself, at least in the past couple of years, to helping people in the production industry, specifically editors, but really these apply to everybody, get healthy and lose weight and just feel better with your Fitness and Post program and podcast. And why did you do this? What drew you to this?
Well, it's funny you mentioned the thing about it being January, because I feel like this is the one month of the year where people actually listen. It's like 11 months a year, I'm trying to sell a chocolate popsicle at a white glove convention, trying to sell better health to people in the film industry. Not an easy task. I tell you, it's not been easy, but in January, people actually listen. But anyway, basically this journey for me began over a decade ago. I had been out of college a few years and I was editing an independent feature film. It was my first feature. So I was doing everything I possibly could to make my mark, build a resume. And I had been working probably 16 hours a day for about 6 or 7 weeks straight, meaning 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, no breaks, with a director behind me. And I hit a wall where I basically became suicidally depressed. I was dealing with massive anxiety and panic attacks. And there was a moment when I did eventually have a day off where I remember being at home living with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. And she said, "Hey, do you mind taking the trash out?" And I just broke down in tears. The mere thought of getting up and taking the trash outside was way too much for me to handle, and I was totally overwhelmed.
Wow.
And, I had two options. It was either I could follow through on the fact that I was suicidally depressed, or I could do something about it. And up until that point, for years, I had studied strength training and martial arts and yoga and meditation, and I had played contact sports. So I had a lot of knowledge about high-performance athletics. But as soon as I moved to Los Angeles, I was in editor mode. I just wanted to build my career. And I said, wait, what if I took everything I already know about high performance and I try to figure out how to blend it with sitting all day long in front of a computer? And it took me years of experimentation and tons of failures, spending money on things that just didn't work and trying all these different routines and just different ways to rearrange my environment. And none of it worked. And then all of a sudden it just clicked. It was probably about 3 or 4 years ago that it really started to work for me. And I started to feel really good, have energy throughout the day, had crazy amounts of focus. And everybody that I worked with started asking, they're like, what in the world are you doing differently? How are you weathering all the different things you're involved with? So I said, well, maybe I'll get a few editors together and we'll just kind of start an exercise fitness group. And that's when Fitness and Post was born. And they said, you've got all this great information. Why don't you create a blog and a website? I'm like, okay, I don't know how to make a website, but I'll try.
Yeah.
And then I started a podcast. And at the time, the podcast was just me talking to the people in my group. It was me with 10 or 12 other people. So I wasn't getting any real guests other than just friends and colleagues. And I was asked to debut the website at a user group. So the Los Angeles Creative Pro user group, which is kind of the sister group to Bossy Pug. And I honestly thought I was going to go on stage and get laughed at and maybe have tomatoes thrown at me. But what ended up happening is I got a standing ovation from people. And they said, nobody in this industry cares about our well-being. Nobody's trying to protect us. We don't have a wellness program. This is fantastic. Thank you for doing this. So part of me was like, that's awesome. And then the other part of me was like, crap, now I actually have to turn this into something because I thought I'd just be done. Well, they said it was stupid, so I'm going to give up. So that was a little less than 3 years ago. And since then, outside of raising 2 young kids and editing shows like Empire and all these other projects, I was dedicating myself to learning how do I podcast, how do I create a blog, how do I write content that's helpful to people, and how do I build it into something. And what happened was people started to love the information. So the next inevitable question was, hey, do you have a program? And I'm like,
yeah,
no, not really. You can listen to my episodes. And they're like, yeah, but I want more. So it was, again, the same kind of moment of like, crap. Now I got to make something and turn it into a full-fledged program that people can follow step by step. And that is when Optimize Yourself was born.
Now, I want to certainly talk about Optimize Yourself, but for the people that don't even know who you are you? Like, you're a professional film editor. You work on massive shows. Like, this is not, you're not like a freelance editor that's just kind of doing corporate and commercial work. You're doing major shows. So you just got to tell the people out there kind of who you are and what you're working on to give some context.
Yeah, sure. So I've been a professional film editor in Los Angeles for a little over 15 years. The first 2 or 3 years I was out here, I was in trailers. So I worked on what you would call large budget independent films. So not big budget, but big for the indies. So this was back in the heyday of like the Fox Searchlights and the Magnolia Pictures and the Warner Premieres, like that heyday. And I did stuff for Paramount Classics and Newmarket. So kind of my claim to fame was I edited the trailer and the entire marketing campaign for The Passion of the Christ. And that was what kind of springboarded my career. But I realized at a very early age, I didn't want to do marketing. I wanted to do long form. I always wanted to tell stories. That's what I wanted to do since I was 12 years old. So I transitioned to independent films, and I did indie features for probably 5 or 6 years until I got my big break in television, where I edited the last 4 seasons of Burn Notice, the USA show.
Yeah.
And from Burn Notice, I moved from that to another show on ABC that nobody's ever heard of. But the showrunner for that ABC show was Eileen Chaikin, who happens to be the showrunner for the TV show Empire. So she called me one day and she said, "Hey, I'm doing this new show Empire and you're going to be editing it." And I was like, okay, what's Empire? I have no idea. I had no clue what I was getting into. But I came on board Empire, and then it ends up being the largest like cultural sensation and breaking all these records, and was absolutely crazy. But it was also ridiculously stressful and lots of hours and very political. And it was when I really realized and had this aha moment that I'm not sure I want to go down this specific path my entire career. I'm really passionate and engaged with this wellness side of things, because people started to come to me and say, yeah, this is the guy that runs the wellness program for editors, like on a global basis. And like, whoa, like that's a pretty cool thing to be called without me ever calling myself that. So I decided that I wanted to find a way to really be able to focus on creating programs that would work not only for editors, but anybody that's a creative professional that's chained to a desk all day long.
It's weird about the production industry, and I'm sure there's a lot of industries that are similar, but I'm speaking from my point of reference. But it seems like the production industry really values an incredible amount of work. Like, obviously you have to work hard to be successful, but there's almost a pride in saying like, oh, I did a 18-hour day the other day, or I've only slept 2 hours yesterday, or there's some, like, you almost feel good when you're talking to people about how psychotic and hectic your schedule is, that it's almost, you almost feel like weak, or you feel as though you're not fulfilling your potential when you have normal days and you sleep correctly and you eat well and you don't stretch yourself thin. How do you combat that? Well, first of all, do you agree? And if so, how do you combat that in a fitness program like yours?
Well, not only do I agree with it, but I'm on a crusade to end this idea of this culture of burning yourself out. I write about very often the idea of people wearing their sleep deprivation badge of honor. Yeah. And saying, man, I was here until 3:30 in the morning and now I'm back at 7 and like, I'm an Iron Man. It's like, no, actually you're an idiot and you're killing yourself much faster than everybody else.
Why do people do that? Like, what if you...
That's just the culture that's been bred. It's not just in the filmmaking industry. It's now becoming an American work culture thing. It happens in a lot of industries. But if we just keep it to the filmmaking industry, 12-hour days are standard. When I talk to people outside of my industry, they're like, what do you mean you work a 12-hour day? I'm like, that's on a good day, to be honest. Like that's my contractual obligation is 12 hours a day, 60 hours a week. I generally work more, but it's just inbred in us that we are workhorses and we push and we push and we push. Yeah. But what nobody understands is that there is a giant slope where your productivity just starts to plummet and go down this ravine after a certain number of hours. So I'm really big into science and research. Like this isn't just, ooh, I think we should be doing this. It's like, I'm not an expert, but I find the experts and I look at the scientific information. And basically, if you're going to work with less than 6 hours of sleep on a regular basis, you have the same cognitive abilities and the same cognitive scores as somebody that's legally drunk. So imagine if somebody came into the office and you could smell alcohol on their breath and they were slightly slurring their words. Would you say, man, I can't believe that guy was drunk last night and he's still in drunk? Like he's awesome. Nobody would do that.
Yeah.
That's what's happening when you deprive yourself of sleep. And I've done podcasts and entire articles just about the problems that having a lack of sleep causes. Like, for example, if you're somebody that's a shift worker, if you're working overnight and your circadian rhythms are off on a regular basis, that's actually classified as a class 2A carcinogen, meaning that's causing cancer. So not protecting your sleep and protecting your well-being, it's not making you better at what you do. It's just shortening your lifespan.
So do you think if you had to advise people that are eating poorly and sleeping poorly, if you could only get them to do one thing, would you be more on the side of eating better, or would you be more on the side of sleeping better?
To me, there's no question that sleep is the place that you focus first. That is the number one force multiplier. Even if you don't exercise or eat better, if you start to sleep better, you see the effects almost immediately. So if you're somebody that does one of these crazy 90-day deprivation diets or P90X exercise program, and you're really hoping to get that cool before and after picture, it's going to take you 90 or more days before you really get a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
If you sleep better, in 3 days, your life changes completely. So it's a super, super easy win where you're going to see the results almost immediately. But if you're looking at, all right, I'm going to eat better or I'm going to sleep better. If you're trying to eat better, you're trying to push a giant boulder up a mountain if you're not sleeping, because sleep is going to completely mess up your appetite hormones. So there are hormones that are called ghrelin and leptin. One of them controls whether or not you're hungry. One of them controls whether or not you're satiated or full. So I'm sure everybody's been through this where after a late night and they don't sleep often, guess what you do the next day? You snack on stuff all day long because you're sleep deprived. So if you're trying to eat better, but you're sleep deprived, you're going to drive yourself crazy. But one of the easiest ways to lose weight without making any other changes in your life is to just sleep more and sleep better.
But what tastes better? Nothing tastes better than, I used to be in bands, and driving home at like 4 a.m. on the highway, coming home after a show. Look, because we did the Boston to New York trip all the time. There was nothing tastier than stopping at a fast food place at like 2, 3 in the morning on the way home from New York. Why is it so damn good? Why is it so tempting? Especially when you're exhausted. You're so right.
Yeah, and I can't argue with any of that. You're not wrong. I'm not going to say, well, it's not tasty. Of course it is. I would much rather have a giant burger with barbecue sauce and onion rings and cheese. Like anybody would. Like I'm human too. But I always tell people that you have to play the long game, not the short game. My philosophy is your health is a game of chess, not a game of checkers.
Yeah.
But when you look at the way that the media speaks to us, everything is about now, now, now. You got to do this for 60 days, do this for 90 days. But those things never last. And science has definitively proven that when you do these calorie deprivation diets, like the extreme version would be the biggest loser, but any of these crazy diets, once you're done with it, if you do succeed, and only 8% of people actually get to the end of whatever the program is, they eventually stop doing that regimen because most likely it's not sustainable long term. And then they not only gain back whatever weight they tried to lose, but they gain back another 10% more because all of their hormones are out of whack from depriving themselves of food.
A few minutes ago, you mentioned that you were suffering from anxiety, depression. You even said suicidal depression. I want to talk a little bit more about that. What were the sensations that sort of led you up to those feelings? Like, was it a slow build, or did you all of a sudden start feeling overwhelmed?
No, I mean, a slow build would be a really good way to put it. And mental health is something I really focus on in this program a lot. So when people hear the words fitness and post, they think it's just about activity. And it really isn't. It's like I define fitness as both physical, mental, spiritual. Like there's so much more to it than that, which is why I created the Optimize Yourself program to hit all those areas. But I've been through several bouts of complete and total burnout. I've written very candidly about it on the blog. If you just put in burnout in the search, you're going to find several posts. But the analogy that I use is when you think of a frog that's put into cold water and you boil it to death, if you slowly turn up the heat, the frog is going to have no idea because the water is heating gradually and it's eventually just going to be dead. But it doesn't jump out. But if you take a frog and throw it in boiling water, guess what it does? It freaks out and it jumps out immediately.
Yeah.
And depression is very, very similar for a lot of people, where the first time that I went through it, I didn't even know what it was. I just assumed something was wrong with me, where I had no energy. I couldn't get up in the morning. I felt like I was walking through wet cement all day long. I couldn't create coherent thoughts. And I just saw everything negatively. I had such a horrible negative view of the world. And when I was asked to do anything outside of a work context, I physically and mentally just could not do it. And like I said, I would break out in tears. And you just get to a point where you can't see the forest through the trees, and you really don't even realize how bad things are. And finally, when I kind of had hit that point where I broke down just from trying to take out the trash, I said, maybe I need to see somebody. Maybe I need to find out what's going on. So I found an integrative medicine specialist, which is not some, holistic guy that treated me with incense. I don't want anybody to think that.
Yeah, what does that mean, integrative medicine?
Yeah, so integrative medicine is an MD, somebody that has a medical license and has learned Western medicine, but also integrates philosophies from other cultures. Specifically, there's a lot of Eastern medicine in it as well. And the idea is that you're trying to create wellness, not just prevent illness. And this is a black hole I could go down for hours and hours, which I've actually done on my podcast. But when you look at the way that the medical system is set up in the United States now, somebody that's an MD, it's right in the name, medical doctor. They're taught how to treat people with medicine. If you go to a doctor and say, listen, can you help me kind of reshape my diet? And I want to have more energy, more focus. I want to be more creative. What can I do? They'd say, well, I don't know, what's wrong with you now? And you tell them what's wrong and they give you a pill for it. But they don't understand how to keep people healthy. An integrative medicine specialist's job is to keep you healthy, but they can also give you prescription medication and treat you with Western medicine if necessary.
Did you go to therapists too?
I did, yes. I went through an extensive round of psychotherapy, probably for 3 to 4 months, to really understand what some of my behavioral patterns were that led me to being depressed. I really learned how to understand my perception of the world versus what the world actually looked like, and how my state of mind was severely affected by my brain chemistry. So that's really when I kind of got the itch to learn more about brain chemistry and neuroscience, and neuroscience. And I was actually on prescription medication for a long time, for years. And I even went through a period, and I haven't even talked about this part of it, but during all of this, I was also diagnosed with adult onset ADD, which is one of the machines that drives depression and anxiety because you can't focus on anything. So I actually went through a period for a while where I was on Adderall as well, and I hated being on medication. But what it did for me is it kind of helped me just, like, imagine if depression is a hole in the ground and you can't reach the top and climb out. Basically, when you start taking medication, you're grabbing the edge, you're putting your head over it, and you're saying, oh, okay, now my head's above ground. I think I can get over the hump. And then, like for me at least, I wanted to get off the medication as fast as possible so I could get out. And I learned how to do that naturally through either eating properly, moving properly, exercising, all the different things that I teach now. All came from me trying to figure out, how do I treat myself and how do I survive? And then once I cracked the code, I realized I'm not the only person in my industry that deals with this, because when you're an editor or somebody in the filmmaking industry, you're most likely kind of isolated. Like, you can spend months and months as an editor and not talk to anybody else except your producer and your director or your client or whoever you're working with.
Yeah.
So you just assume, oh, this is just me. Like, there's something wrong with me. I must be doing something wrong. But I learned that this is happening to everybody. And once I cracked the code and I said, there are other people dealing with this, let's see if I can help others. And that's when everything started.
Now, you say when you say you hated being on medication, did you hate the idea that you were using medication, or did you not like the physical feelings that it gave you?
It was both. Part of it was just the stigma, and I want to make it very clear that I'm not against medication. I don't believe in the stigma of medication, but I also don't believe that and once again, disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, not a physician. I have no formal training whatsoever, so I just want to make sure that's out there.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that you have to be on medication for the rest of your life. There are people that, of course, they're going to have to be. So this is on a case-by-case basis. But in general, if you focus on your lifestyle, your sleep, what you're eating, how much you're moving throughout the day, there are ways that you can combat these issues without having to deal with medication. So part of it was I just didn't want to be on medication, and I wanted to find a way to live without having chemicals in my body every day. But at the same time, I didn't like the way that they made me feel either, other than like I clearly, if my choices were suicidal depression or being on antidepressants saved my life. But at the same time, there are always side effects that come with them that are not as bad as the alternative. But I kept saying to my doctor, who's now a very close friend of mine, and I would say to him, listen, I know that this has helped me, but I don't like these side effects. Is there a way to get off this medication? He's like, absolutely. We just need to do this, this, and this. And it was a long, slow, gradual process of, like I said, playing a game of chess. But once I got out from it, it's completely changed my entire life.
Where was your anxiety kind of focused in? Were there things that you were doing in your work life or in your family life that were bringing out more anxious moments? Or did they just kind of come unannounced at random times throughout the day?
It was pretty consistent with me. The analogy that I gave my doctor, and this is when he kind of dug deeper and figured out the diagnosis of adult onset ADD, was I said, imagine that I have this wheel spinning inside my chest, and it's just spinning, and it never stops. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's just this constant spinning, and I can't slow down. And my two speeds were 150 miles an hour or 0, meaning I completely burned out and I couldn't function as a human being.
Yeah.
And he said, all right, well, that sounds very similar to somebody with anxiety and ADD. So for me, there were two components. One was based on the amount of tasks that I need to get done during the day, where I just simply could not organize my to-do list. And that's very common for people with ADD, where a normal person can be like, oh, well, you have these 10 things and you should probably do this first and that first. And this would be the order that makes the most sense. I couldn't do that. I couldn't prioritize anything. So I would look at what I had to do for the day, and I would just sit on my couch in a ball because I couldn't figure out what to do next.
Yeah.
And then I also had social anxiety because as somebody that I chose my living because I'm not great with large groups of people and I'm an introvert. That's why we choose editing. If I was in social situations, I would have panic attacks. So I have one very distinct memory where I went out to dinner with my wife's family before we were married. So it was still a new relationship. And there were probably 12 or 14 people at dinner, and I didn't know half of them. And I spent half the dinner in the restroom, just sitting there sweating profusely because I was so overwhelmed and basically having an anxiety attack. So wow. I kind of got it from all angles.
We did an episode on anxiety here at Go Creative Show a little while back because I was experiencing some pretty severe panic attacks and didn't really know what was going on. So I had started going to therapists. I learned a little bit more about it, and I decided to bring somebody on the show because same as you, as I was learning, I'm realizing that, the production industry does kind of spawn these sorts of emotions sometimes, and the stress of it can sort of crack you a little bit. And we talked about that quite a bit. And obviously, people have panic attacks and anxiety disorders across all sorts of industries, or people that aren't working at all. It can happen to anybody. But is there something about the way the production works that can really stretch you out so much that it might sort of inflame those sorts of emotions?
Well, I think that's part of it, but I think you have to step backwards a little bit and kind of reverse engineer it. I don't think it's so much the production industry that's causing the anxiety. I mean, outside of the crazy, ridiculous work hours and the demands, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if you really kind of reverse engineer it and you go on a deeper level, you realize that people that gravitate towards creative industries are more prone to have these issues. So the higher that you get in levels of creativity and you get to like the level of creative genius, basically it's almost a guarantee that you're also going to have mental health issues that come along with being a highly creative person. It's just the way the human brain is wired. And there's plenty of studies that show that as creativity goes up, so do mental health issues and anxiety and ADD and reading issues like dyslexia. Like it's just part of the package.
Wow.
So I think because the types of people that are drawn to the filmmaking industry, specifically the creative ends of the filmmaking industry, they're already coming with mental health baggage. So it's not like there are all these perfectly normally healthy people coming to filmmaking and then it's the industry that's doing it. My philosophy, at least, is that it has a lot to do with the types of people that gravitate towards this type of work.
Let's talk about the Optimize Yourself program and the different things that people can do to help themselves kind of get out of these feelings. And we're not just talking about people with, emotional issues or anything like that. I mean, it's just getting well too. But let's talk about the Optimize Yourself program. What is it striving to do and how is it doing it?
Yeah, well, the idea behind the Optimize Yourself program, and specifically what I'm focusing on right now, is movement. So Optimize Yourself covers a lot of different areas. It covers movement, it covers food and fuel, it covers sleep or finding balance in your life, and it also covers productivity, because one of my philosophies is that with all of the sleep deprivation and the crazy hours, I refuse to work harder and longer. I've just learned how to work smarter. So I'm incredibly organized and very efficient. And I was leaving Empire at 7 and 8 p.m. every night to put my kids to bed when everybody else was pulling all-nighters, just because of the way that I reorganized my life and my time management. So that's part of it as well.
Well, let me stop you there for a second, because you hear this a lot. You hear people say something similar to that, where, I decided to work smarter. I decided to, but are you sacrificing productivity in order to live a healthier lifestyle? And if so, is that okay? I mean, can you honestly say that you're doing just as much work as you used to now that you're working less hours? Or is the trade-off worth it? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's exactly the opposite. If you are treating your health properly, you become more productive.
So those hours are worth more.
Oh, we're not talking little tiny amounts. We're talking like you can increase your productivity by up to 40% if you take care of yourself and you work in a more organized manner. And once again, I'm not making these numbers up. These are based on scientific medical studies that have been done. So the amount that I'm able to accomplish in an 8-hour day is generally more than most people working 12 to 14 hours, just because of the way that I organize my time and the way that I prioritize what needs to be done versus what can wait, and also when I do it during the day. So the two things that I really focus on are time management, but also energy management, because everybody just thinks, I have to do, I have to get all these things done. But you have to learn how to manage your time and what you're doing, but you also have to learn how to manage your energy and when you're doing it. So anybody that's worked with me and they know that I try to work an 8 or a 9-hour day instead of a 12-hour day, nobody has looked at my work and said, yeah, I can tell that he's going home earlier because this isn't really up to snuff. I get the opposite reaction where people say, this is flippin' amazing. How in the world are you getting this much done in an 8-hour day? It's not even possible. And then I'll just show them a few of my tricks and they're like, holy crap, this is totally different than the way that I do it. And I've written extensive blog posts about different strategies that I use to manage my time. And within a few days, people will email me and say, I read this blog, I just tried this, this, and this, and I got like an hour back in my day, but I actually got more done. So I'm not saying to people you can either be productive or be healthy. It's the opposite. If you're healthy, you are going to be more productive and get more things done in less time.
You are listening to the PremiumBeat.com Song of the Week. It's called True Persistence by Somatics. PremiumBeat.com is where to go for all of your royalty-free music and sound effects. They have a great website where you can access their collection of thousands of royalty-free tracks for as low as $49 each. And it's not just individual tracks. You get loops, you get cut downs, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 5 seconds. So you can take a song and customize it to exactly what you need for your project. But the most important thing is that the music is high quality and really great, and your clients will love it. I use Premium Beat for almost every project that I have, and I strongly encourage you guys to do the same. PremiumBeat.com. All right, let's take a minute and talk about Kessler. The Kessler Shutter Dolly is the latest innovation in camera dollies and finally provides filmmakers with the performance and versatility dollies in its class have always lacked until now. The Shutter Dolly utilizes standard speed rails and can be operated manually or in conjunction with Kessler's motion control solutions, CineDrive, and Second Shooter Plus. For more information, visit KesslerCrane.com today, KesslerCrane.com. And lastly, let's talk about Shutterstock.com. Shutterstock.com has nearly 3 million royalty-free video clips. And that doesn't even include their photo gallery and their vectors and their blog and their music. I mean, it's insane. But the best thing about it is that the quality is really, really high. So when you're putting it into your project, it's going to elevate your piece, right? Because that's the whole thing. You're going to spend all this time and money making sure that your project is the best that it can, that you've shot it the best that you can. And when there's stuff that you just simply can't get, you need to get stock footage for it. You want to make sure that the stock footage is not going to bring down the rest of the rest of the video. And at Shutterstock.com, that's exactly what you're going to find. Personally, I love the Director's Choice collections. I talk about them all the time because I use them all the time. One of the ones that I'm super into right now is a collection called Establish Your Story. It's 65 clips that are just different cool ways to get establishing shots. Of different places around the world that you may not be able to shoot in. Skyscrapers, palm trees, all sorts of stuff. It's a great way to start a sequence, with a great establishing shot. And that's just one of them. There's so many different categories here, and it's great. Even if you're not in the market to buy a piece of stock footage, just go there for inspiration and check out other things. It might shake loose some great idea that you have while you're kind of in a slump editing or something like that. Shutterstock.com, love it, and their blog is awesome too. We don't talk about it nearly enough, but it's really good, and you guys should check it out. And it's all there at Shutterstock.com. All right, enough babbling. We're going to move on to the second half of our interview with Zack Arnold. Let's talk about some of the ways that people can become more healthy and sort of the tools that you're giving people and Optimize Yourself.
Yes. Well, to me, the outside of sleep, like sleep is the ultimate force multiplier, like I said. But next to sleep, the biggest driver of creativity and energy and productivity is going to be movement throughout your day. So I have a program that's called Move Yourself that's part of the Optimize Yourself program that is just geared towards how do I move more and stay active if I'm chained to a desk for 12 to 16 hours a day. Because if you're an accountant and you work from 9 to 5 and you say, oh, I don't have time to go to the gym, you're lying to yourself and you just don't feel like it. But if you're somebody that works 16 hours a day and you commute and you have 2 young kids and you say, I don't have time to go to the gym, you got yourself a real problem and a real excuse. Yeah. And that was my life for years. And I said, I refuse to accept this reality. I need to find a way to be active and energetic, but I know that I can't leave this tiny little box that I'm trapped in all day long. So I learned all these different strategies to be able to move throughout my day. And once I started moving more and moving consistently, I saw my energy levels and more importantly, my focus levels skyrocket. So the Move Yourself program is basically a month-long 4-module course that goes step by step, paint by numbers. Here's how to, number 1, start doing things more actively that you're already doing, so you don't need to find more time in your day. And then also learning how to properly set your goals and your resolutions. So like you said, it's January and people say, I want to get healthier and I want to be more fit. Well, those aren't goals. Those are things you aspire to be someday, but you actually need a roadmap. You need to know, all right, if this is what I want, what do I do tomorrow morning? What do I do Friday? So I help people break those things down. And then I also show them, here's how to reorganize your work environment. So when you do want to be more active, you actually can be. So you're creating what I call a dynamic work environment rather than a static work environment where you're sedentary all day. And then on top of that, once you've gone through all these other modules, I show you the science behind habit formation and how to make these things actually stick. Because everybody that I talk to, they've all given me the same story. Well, I know that sitting is bad for me, and I got this app, and it's free, and every hour there's an alarm that goes off and says, you should stand more. And I did it for like a week. And then I started ignoring it all the time. How do I stop ignoring the apps and I actually move when I need to because I'm so worried about losing my focus? So I teach people how to overcome that hump and build long-term lifestyle habits into their day. So for example, there was a day when I was writing a blog post, it was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, where I, at the end of the day, was talking about how much activity I get. And I'm like, oh, let me just check my Fitbit stats. And I had 14,000 steps, and I had been in front of my desk pretty much all day long. So I just took a screenshot and I put it in the blog post. And I said, this is what my stats look like at the end of the day, even though I'm stuck in this tiny room in front of a workstation. So for me, movement is so crucial to be able to maintain my energy, my creativity, and then ultimately become more productive. So that's the big focus for me now is movement, but I'm going to be building other programs that go much deeper into the other areas like sleep and productivity and diet and so on.
And what kind of movement are we talking about? Are you talking about just like like just simple movements walking around the room? Or are you talking like push-ups and squats? And like how advanced are these movements?
It's actually all based around modern dance. I'm kidding. No.
I got excited for a second.
No.
I'm just picturing you in your edit suite dancing like a maniac.
Yes, no modern dance.
So I guess that's why this is better for editors, because they're not around people.
Yes, exactly. I mean, there are a lot of components to it, but if we go to the very first spot where I have people start, it's what I call, you need to get some easy wins. And these are things that you can do immediately. So rather than thinking, oh man, I have to do a bunch of push-ups at my desk, or I have to do burpees, or go run the steps all the time, like all those are great, and they're things you can do down the road, but you're not going to stick with that short term. So just choose things that you're already doing during your day, just do them more actively. So very simple examples would be, number one, make it a habit that whenever you drive anywhere, but especially your office, park as far away as you possibly can. And there's two benefits to that. Number one, you're going to get more activity because you're going to have to walk further. But number two, nobody's ever going to take your parking spot because nobody wants to park as far away as you have. So anytime I go to the grocery store, go to a department store, I always get the best parking, quote unquote, because I'm always in the very far back. And I get to move more. And if, like, for example, when I would edit at like Paramount Studios is one coming to mind. When I was working at Paramount, they have this giant parking structure. So what I would do is park on the roof in the back corner. So just doing that instead of parking as close as I could got me probably an extra 1,000 to 2,000 steps per day. And it also forced me to not only walk down 6 flights of steps, but then walk up 6 flights of steps to get back to my car.
You mentioned that the last time you were on the podcast. And I have to be honest with you, I have been doing, since you mentioned that in the last podcast, that for some reason stuck in my head. And every single time that I'm in a parking lot, you pop into my mind telling me to park far away. And it has happened now. It had to be over a year ago that you were on. And you're always in my mind when I'm parking. So
that is both awesome and just a little bit creepy.
I know, right? But seriously, it's for some reason that is like the one thing that I took away from that episode. It's very bizarre, but that was the thing.
And stuff like that makes a difference and it adds up. And if you're thinking, well, my life isn't going to change if I park further away, you're correct. It's not. But you start adding up a lot of little things like that and it starts to make a difference. So another one would be, if you're anywhere that has an elevator, just take the stairs. Yeah. Where this came, and this is very, very common. Like, this is the one solution that when you look up sitting is the new smoking on Google, you're going to get like 19 million search results. And every article says the same thing. Well, start taking the stairs instead of the elevator. And that's the solution. Well, no, it's not. It's a good start, but it's not the solution. So that's another thing that you can do, but everybody's aware of that one. Another one that's a huge win for me that has multiple benefits is that whenever I'm on the phone, I always walk. So I never sit while I'm on the phone. So if I'm on a conference call that's scheduled, rather than being at my desk 5 minutes before the call, I'll go outside or go down a hallway, whatever my environment might be, and I will just walk during the call. And if it's an hour-long conference call, I'll usually get between 6,000 and 7,000 steps during that hour. And number one, the benefit of that is that I clearly get to move more throughout the day. But number two is that I project more energy when I'm on the phone. So one of my rules is that when I'm podcasting, I always stand up because I can project my energy more. The same thing goes when I'm on the phone. So a very common reaction I'll get when I talk to somebody is they're like, man, you're just so passionate about this thing that you're talking about. I'm like, well, yeah, that's because I'm walking like 7,000 steps. Like, that energy is just coming out, as opposed to if I'm sitting and I'm kind of hunched over, my voice is going to get a little bit lower and I'm going to be lower energy. And after an hour, it's kind of hard to focus and I'm going to be talking and I'm going to be responding. But I could be talking like this instead because I've got energy.
So you're walking, are you walking right now?
I'm not walking. I can't because I'm tethered to Skype. If I weren't tethered to Skype and you and I were on the phone, yes, I probably would have walked around my block at least twice now. Really? Because to walk around a city block, not a city block, but like a residential block where I live is about a 15-minute walk. So I will do 4 blocks in the span of an hour. So that's a big win for me, that if I have 2 conference calls in a day, right there's my 15,000 steps, no question, without doing anything else.
Now I'm looking at, you sent me a link to a little preview of the site that is the preview of the program, Optimize Yourself. And there's great stuff here. I mean, pain relief and mobility library. There's office yoga library. And these are video libraries where people can learn little tips and tricks on what to do when you're sitting all day. And even when you're not sitting all day, just stuff that you can throw into your life, whether you're sitting or standing or moving, just great tips. And the program looks great. The app looks slick. It's just, this is really great. I'm happy for you. I think this is fantastic. And it's so exciting to see kind of where Fitness in Post has gone and is going. I think it's really great.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. And one thing that I always tell people is I have been a film editor for 15 years. So do not take my word for it. Take my word from experts that have been doing this their whole lives. Because what I wanted was to just buy this program. I was one of those people that said, all right, I really want to be more active. I'm so tired of being stuck in front of my desk. I had done P90X, I'd done P90X2, P90X3. Like I went through the whole Beachbody program. I've done Spartan races. I've done Tough Mudder. So I've done the extreme exercise route. But I just wanted something that could keep me active during the day. So I'm like, where is P90X for my desk? Like stupid searches like that. And nothing came up. I said, all right, I want videos that show me how to relieve pain in my lower back. And you'd find individual little videos on YouTube or, somebody's blog post. And I was like, I just want a program. Just show me what to do. And I just want to follow the instructions. And I realized it didn't exist. And I was like, crap. I'm going to have to build it because I know exactly what I want personally. So I'm just going to build a program for me first. Then I'm going to get a few people that I know, see what they think of it. And now it's grown to hundreds and thousands of people that are joining this and saying it's totally changing the way that I work. So for example, with the pain relief and mobility library, that was designed by a licensed chiropractor and biomechanist that understands how the body works. So I said, I want to design this for people that sit at a desk. And she's like, all right, here's this giant list of areas that I can treat. So it's basically like, it's like the Netflix of pain relief. So you say, I have pain in my lower back on my left side. What should I do? So you see the 2-minute video about lower back pain on the left side. Here's where it's coming from. Here's a 7 to 10 minute routine that you can do right at your desk to alleviate that pain specifically. Or if you have pain in your right shoulder, or you have tension headaches, or your knee hurts, whatever it is, there's a very simple routine that you can do. So it's not just general exercises, it's really specific to your type of pain or discomfort.
So in our last few minutes, I do want to talk about nutrition just for a couple minutes, but I want to make sure we're selling this program correctly. So is there anything about Optimize Yourself that you want people to know? Like how do they sign up for it? Let's get all of that out now. Then we'll talk a little bit about nutrition and wrap it up.
Yeah, absolutely. So as of whenever this show releases, I'm actually going to be doing a free 5-day challenge that I call the 5X Challenge. It's going to be starting Monday, January 9th. And it's going to be a 100% free version of the training that I do over 5 days to kind of get you started and build some momentum doing some of the things we talked about, plus a lot more. And then if you decide at the end of the 5-day challenge that you actually want to go further and join the full program, you can. But I'm also giving away over $10,000 in amazing prizes like height adjustable workstations and really cool ergonomic desk chairs and software packages. There's a lot of stuff that people can win just by participating. They don't have to buy anything. They don't have to, there's no purchase necessary. And what I want to do specifically for your listeners is I want to actually give them a 10% discount code if they decide that they want to not only do the challenge, but then go further and work with me in the program. So they can just go to optimizeyourself.me/go creative. And there's going to be a special page with their coupon code. They can join the 5X challenge from there and then learn way more about movement at your workstation than you ever thought was possible or you ever wanted to know.
So that's optimizeyourself.me /go creative. That's awesome. We'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. But really, you should just go to the site and type that in and get your 10% discount because this program really does look fantastic. And it looks like, I hate to say simple because it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, it's so easy to lose. But I think what it is you get people started. You explain to them why movement is important. You define their goals. You teach them all these basic steps to get them in the mindset of being healthier and just building from there. I absolutely love this. I'm really psyched for you. This is awesome. This is really cool.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear you're excited. That makes me feel very good about the last 2 years of my life.
Well, I'm glad I can make you feel good about yourself. And just lastly, I want to talk about nutrition just a little bit. What would you say to people listening is a simple thing that they can do, maybe replacing something that you're eating or adding something to your meal plan, something nutrition-wise that can help you be more productive and kind of get you going, get you on the right track for better health?
Yes. Well, I'll actually go a step back, and I'm going to basically open a giant rabbit hole and then not jump in and totally leave people
It's
hanging.
the end of the show. How can you open up a rabbit hole?
So I'll
You've been
make it super, super
podcasting
quick.
long enough. You know not to do that.
Yes. No, so don't worry. I won't go too far. But if there's one thing that I could tell people when they say, well, I want to make a change, what should it be? And I will tell them, stop counting calories. Stop thinking that better diet and better health is just about how much you take in versus how much you burn. It's much bigger than that.
Yeah.
And you have to really pay attention to the quality of the foods that you're putting in your body. But if it's really specifically about productivity and it's about focus and energy and all the things that we've been talking about, I don't really focus on weight loss. That's really not my thing. There are billions and billions of dollars spent on teaching people how to lose weight quickly, most of them unhealthy. That's not my focus. I just want to tell people how to feel better and have more focus. And guess what? All these small changes over time, you're going to end up losing weight anyway. So it's a side effect, but it's not what the program is about.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that people need to do is stop relying on sugary drinks and sugary snacks and crunchy snacks and all of these things that we've been told about, well, I need to have 6 to 12 servings of whole grains per day. Like, it's all BS. The food pyramid needs to be flipped upside down, and you need to stop focusing on all of the flours and the grains and all the things that we think are healthy and start focusing on eating things like healthier fats, getting more protein. Once you're able to regulate your blood sugar and you're not relying so much on sugary sweets, sugary drinks, which are really the biggest culprit of all, are people that will have like a Snapple or a Diet Coke or something next to their keyboard all day. Those are killing your productivity. Absolutely killing them.
It's interesting you said Diet Coke, because I think people would make that choice assuming they're not having a sugary drink because it's diet.
No, and it's actually worse for you than, like, if your choices were Coke or Diet Coke, they're both absolute poison. But Diet Coke is actually going to be worse for you because it doesn't have the sugar, it has artificial sweeteners, and those completely mess up your digestive system and your hormone regulation. And they're actually boosting your glycemic response more than sugar, which means that your insulin is going up even more in response to the Diet Coke, which means that you will end up storing more fat because you drank the diet soda rather than the regular soda. So the worst culprit of all is sweet, sugary drinks next to your keyboard, or snacks, either one. They're both the worst thing you can do for your focus and your energy.
What about coffee and stimulants like 5-Hour Energy and caffeine drinks? I mean, a lot of people rely on those to make it through the day. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so when it comes to coffee and caffeine, this is a natural nootropic that has been around for tens of thousands of years. I am a big believer in coffee if you're doing it in moderation and you're having the right types of coffee. Like, for example, if you go to Starbucks and you get the mocha, frappa, cinema, chino, latte, blah-diddy-blah-diddy-blah, all you're doing is having like 90 grams of sugar. That's the worst thing for you. That's not having a coffee to perk you up. But if you're having a nice clean coffee that doesn't have a bunch of cream and sugar in it, and you're doing it in moderation and it's relatively early in the day, that's great for you. I rely on coffee almost every day when I have to be creative. But if you are the type of person that when you wake up, you cannot function and you want to bite people's arms off until you've had your first cup of coffee, or that happens to you at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, then you have become addicted to the caffeine and you're no longer using it as just a regular creative stimulant. It's something you actually need just to function on a regular basis, which means that you need to get yourself back to just a point of balance first, and then you can start using the coffee. But we all go through this just endless vicious cycle of, I don't sleep well enough, so I need to drink more coffee. And then because I'm drinking more coffee, I can't sleep well enough. Because if you're having caffeine, especially in the afternoons, you're completely ruining your natural sleep cycles and the quality and the level of the deep level of your sleep. So you just need more coffee, you get less sleep. You need more coffee, you get less sleep, and it never ends. So coffee is good if used in moderation in the right ways, but for a lot of people, it becomes a crutch.
Optimize yourself. .me/go creative. This program really, really looks fantastic. Like, I'm very excited for you. Talking to you a couple of years ago, meeting you at the Bossy Pug, whatever that was, 3-4 years ago now. You've really done great work, and your commitment to fitness and teaching people how to live better is really admirable. I think this is fantastic. And you guys should absolutely check this out. It's January. You know, all of you out there, even if you're thin and relatively healthy, you all are thinking to yourself, this year is the year I'm going to better myself. Optimize yourself. This is the year for it. OptimizeYourself.me/go creative. And take advantage of this free 5-day thing too. And I'll put a link to all of that in the show notes as well. But remind them one more time, Zach, where can they go to take advantage of that the enrollment process for the 5-day thing?
Yeah, so I'm just going to have that right on the landing page that we're sending them to. So OptimizeYourself.me/go creative. It's going to have both our coupon code and a link to join the 5X challenge.
How cool is this? Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And good. Are you still on Empire? Like, what's going on personally with you in the last?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I ended up leaving Empire after season 2. Basically, I decided the quality of life and quality of time with my children was more important than having a huge show on my resume.
Yeah.
So I ended up leaving Empire, and I took a show that was editing down the street from me. So I walked to work for the next 6 months working on the show Shooter, which is on USA. It's the Ryan Felipe show based on the Mark Wahlberg movie from a few years ago. And Mark Wahlberg's one of the producers on the show.
Oh, cool.
So that's what I ended up doing season 1. And I've actually been on hiatus focusing on Optimize Yourself full-time for the last several months.
I love that. Zach, thank you so much for being on Go Creative Show, and we'll definitely have you back.
Absolutely. Cannot thank you enough for having me on.
Well, I hope you guys all agree that now is the time to optimize yourself, right? Why not? It's the beginning of a new year. Why not try to make 2017 a happier, healthier, more productive year? So head over to optimizeyourself.me/go creative and get access to a free 5-day challenge. But you got to sign up quick because it's coming up January 9th. It's the beginning, January 9th. So you only got a couple days to do it. optimizeyourself.me/go creative. And then after you're done the 5-day, you get 10% off the program. So we're saving you money here. I want to thank our sponsors, Rule Boston Camera, Hedge for Mac, Kessler Crane, News Shooter, Shutterstock, and Premium Beat. Without these guys, the show wouldn't exist, so support those that support us. And I want to thank Matt Russell from Gain Structure Sound for mixing and mastering this show to make it sound so good. Gainstructure.com and on Twitter @GainStructure. And of course, while you're on Twitter, you can tweet us @GoCreativeShow, @GoCreativeShow. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.